It's time for part 2 of my 2024 Buffalo Bills mock offseason today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Well, folks, welcome to part 2 of my mock offseason. In part 1, we curated the cap space, we re-signed some players, and we signed a fair amount of outside free agents. On this part, we are going to do a 7-round mock draft, and I'm going to give you the 53-man roster projection, and this should be fun. Again, some guiding principles that you need to be aware of as we work through this. It's not meant to be predictive. It's just what I would do if I had the opportunity to pull the levers for the Buffalo Bills. I again understand the advantage that I have, that there's not 31 other organizations competing against me. Pretty much what I wanted to do, I did uncompeted with. And again, my objectives with all of this, outside of it just being really fun to do this type of stuff, is to see what's possible, to give you an idea of what's possible for Brandon Beane to get done here over the next few weeks and months. So today is the mock draft and the 53-man roster projection. Some thoughts on this mock draft going into it. Some of my priorities on how the roster looks prior to the mock draft. I want to get some wide receiver talent for sure. That's going to be a priority for me. I want some young defensive linemen to add to the mix. I brought back Daquan Jones and A.J. Epinesa. I signed some veterans, but I want some young players to develop and get some inexpensive upside players in the mix. I want some developmental depth options at corner, safety, offensive line, and running back as well. So those are some of the things that I wanted to accomplish. And I used a mock draft simulator to do this. I used NFL Draft Buzz. I used their mock draft simulator to do this. So that wasn't like I just randomly picked players. I at least used a simulator to give me what I hope is a realistic, landscape, realistic look at what a mock draft should be. So here it is. I made one trade in this mock draft that wasn't in the first round. But my first round pick, number 28 overall, we are adding a wide receiver. We're adding Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. Folks, I'm a big fan. Route running, hands. He's very smart with how he adjusts his routes on the fly. Consistent, can win from the outside. There's no question. Could certainly win from the slot as well. Has some yards after catch ability. Has that ability to win down the field. He's kind of a do-everything guy. I think he compares favorably to an Emmanuel Sanders. Maybe some, this might be a bit of a stretch, but some similarities in terms of size and athleticism to Garrett Wilson. This is a do-everything guy that has a lot of potential that, you start talking about 11 personnel and you put McConkey, Diggs, and Shakir on the field. Not to mention, I did add Noah Brown in free agency. I did add Devin Duvernay in free agency. This wide receiver core is coming together with route runners and guys with hands and a little bit of variety with the skill sets. So would love this at pick 28. In the second round, I'm trading up. I'm trading up from 60. We're going to 50. I give up 157 and 198. But there's a defensive tackle that I got to get my hands on, and it's Braden Fisk out of Florida State. Athletic, disruptive, has interior rush ability, penetration skills. Would be a really fun backup to Ed Oliver. Of course, I signed Shelby Harris. and give yourself just more potential to create negative plays and wreak havoc on opposing offenses. I love the way he plays. Just a high motor guy that competes his butt off in every single snap. Had to have him. So we moved up to make sure we got a defensive tackle. I could have maybe stuck at 60 and picked Rook Oranhoho. That's a hard name to say, out of Clemson, but I really wanted this player. So that's my second pick. In the third round, we are going with round 3, pick 99. Dominic Puny, the interior offensive lineman from Kansas, gives me a piece for this offensive line, this interior offensive line. Some level of concern about the transition that's going down. And I think that David Edwards is certainly a guy that I think is more than capable of starting at left guard. Modest 2-year deal. I want to have a guy here that at a minimum can provide some depth with some developmental starter upside for the offensive line. So Dominic Puny, size, technique, power, mobility. I think he checks a lot of boxes. Makes a lot of sense to me as a mid to late day 2 pick that has developmental starter upside. In the fourth round, pick 129, I'm drafting Brennan Jackson, an edge rusher from Washington State. High floor player, big time motor. And that's a thing that you can really pick up on both Braden Fisk and Brennan Jackson are just guys that are really, really competitive. Jackson tested extremely well at the combine, has a lot of production from his time at Washington State. Very busy hands, firm hands. I think he's just like I said, a high floor guy. Maybe he's not like he's a 4th round pick, right? He's not a guy that I think is going to be a 10-sack guy, but maybe in some ways what you saw from Andrew Van Ginkel from the Miami Dolphins, I think you can get some of that in a Brennan Jackson in terms like very similar, actually. He doesn't even have a ton of length to him, but the way that they play, and you talk about simulated pressures and maybe moving some guys around, Brennan Jackson allows you to be a little bit more creative with your pressure looks and how you align. In the 5th round, pick 162, we're going to get another receiver. We're double dipping. Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan, 6'3", 212. And so I added Ladd McConkey, of course, Diggs, Shakir, Devin Duvernay. Noah Brown is a guy that I added in free agency, but I wanted to get another size guy for the room. He's 6'3", 212, physical player, might be the best blocking receiver in the class. Has some ball skills down the field. He actually wins in contested situation. I think he was like 80-something% this past year in contested situations. To me, he's the ideal player to add competition for the bottom of the wide receiver depth chart. You know, like Justin Shorter. Like, you're going to have to beat out Cornelius Johnson if you're going to make the team. And I think Cornelius Johnson has a lot more skill than a Justin Shorter. So we added some size, physicality, ball skills, blocking ability, special teams upside in Cornelius Johnson in the 5th round. In the 6th round, pick 202, we're going with MJ Devonshire, the cornerback out of Pitt. I'm pretty sure Brandon Beane's required to draft a Pitt defensive back every single year. So we made sure we check that box. Ball skills, instincts in zone. That's what's really, attractive about Devonshire is a lot of translatability and how Pitt plays defense to the Bills, plays with vision in his own defense. Makes a lot of sense. He gives you some length. Competitive player that tackles and will be physical. I think he projects well to playing in the slot, which was one of my priorities in adding a corner, is I wanted a guy that could develop behind Taron Johnson and give you some special teams ability. You get that in MJ Devonshire. 6th round, pick 206, Tyler Owens, safety, Texas Tech. Very raw player. Only 12 career starts. He's only played like 1,000 snaps on defense, but a big-time athlete, big-time special teams impact, like probably the best non-returner special teams player in the draft. 6'2", 215 pounds, jump 41 inches in the vert, 12-foot 2-inch broad jump. He's explosive. He can run. He's super physical. Yeah, the defensive tape is not as big of a resume as you want, but this is what the 6th and 7th rounds are for. Like, take a swing on a big-time athlete with size that can play teams, and you wonder if you can develop him to play safety. I think he'd be a phenomenal day 3 pick for the Bills. And our last draft pick is round 7, pick 246. We're going to go with Michael Wiley, running back out of Arizona, 5'10", 210 pounds, good athlete, physical, competitive, decisive runner. For his career at Arizona, 3.6 yards after contact per attempt. He scored a touchdown once every 16 touches. He can catch the ball well, actually a very good receiving profile, and has been flashy in pass protection as well. So kind of like exactly what I'm looking for in that third running back, some competition for Ty Johnson on the roster. So there's our mock draft. We got Ladd McConkey, wide receiver, Georgia, in the first round. We traded up in the second round to pick 50, and we get Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle from Florida State. Dominic Puny, interior offensive lineman from Kansas, in the third round. Fourth round, Brennan Jackson, edge rusher, Washington State. Fifth round, we go Cornelius Johnson, wide receiver, Michigan. 2 6th-round picks, one of them MJ Devonshire, the corner from Pitt. The other 6th-round pick, Tyler Owens, the safety out of Texas Tech. And in the 7th round, we get a depth running back in Michael Wiley out of Arizona. So the moves have been made. Now it's time to look at what the overall roster looks like. So the 53-man roster projection is coming your way, so be sure to stick with us. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you could still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold from 1 year. The start of the first 3% match must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial member SIPC is a registered broker dealer. Folks, when you're looking to buy tickets to your next big event, you shouldn't have to worry. Well, you don't have to, because Game Time is here, and it's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets, all-in prices, views from your seat, and a best price guarantee. I mean, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The app is awesome, easy to navigate. They give you flash deals, and also love this. When you buy a ticket, they send you the ticket straight to your phone. You don't have to dig through emails to find it. So snag the tickets without the stress and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, folks, time for the 53-man roster projection. Before we do this, I would love to invite you to join the Locked On Bills Subtext community. We are having fun. We started this almost a year ago at this time, and it's been really enjoyable. What you get with the Locked On Bills Subtext community is one-on-one texting with me. So I'm only a text message away. You have a question about the Bills, you want to talk Bills, I'm here for you. I also send out mass text messages reacting to all the major Bills news, and so it has been a busy week. Next week's going to be a busy week. And so as the moves happen, I'll keep you informed, and I'll give you my first reaction to all of it. And you also get access to our Discord channel, where we've got like 600 Bills fans in there talking Bills, Sabres, life, all kinds of fun stuff in a community aspect. It's way better than social media, I promise you that. And also in there, I share film clips. And as the Bills add free agents, I'm going to be doing some film study in there, doing some voiceover commentary on some of their film. So come be part of it. Again, there's a link in today's show notes if you want to join the Locked On Bills Subtext community. Also gets you access to our Discord, and come have some fun with us. Come connect with us, and would love for you to be part of it. All right, 53-man roster projection. We did all the stuff. We created cap space. We re-signed players. We signed new players. We did a mock draft. Now it's time to talk about what this roster looks like, and ultimately for you to decide if you like what I did. At quarterback, and I'm going to give you the projection, and I want to talk to you about like the numbers at each position. And this, look, there's UDFAs that'll be added. There's probably some low-level NFL veteran free agents that'll be added. But this is kind of the the real bones of the roster. At quarterback, the Bills will keep 2 of those. Josh Allen, Mitchell Trubisky are my projected players. We have Shane Buechele as a practice squad quarterback. At running back, I have 4 spots available. James Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, free agent signing, Ty Johnson, welcome back, Reggie Gilliam, and then Michael Wiley as a draft pick. I've got 5 players for 4 spots. So Michael Wiley in the mix. Certainly if an injury happens, he'll be looking pretty for making the roster, but 5 players for 4 spots. Again, James Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Ty Johnson, Reggie Gilliam, and our late round draft pick, Michael Wiley. At wide receiver, we got some good competition here for 5 spots. Stefon Diggs, Khalil Shakir. We signed in free agency Noah Brown and Devin Duvernay. And then I drafted Ladd McConkey and Cornelius Johnson. We also have Justin Shorter, KJ Hamler, Andy Isabella, Tyrell Shavers, Brian Thompson. But I would say most likely the wide receiver core, if we keep 6, is Diggs, Shakir, Noah Brown, Ladd McConkey, Cornelius Johnson, and Devin Duvernay. I love that. I absolutely love that. At tight end, this one's straightforward. 3 spots, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Quentin Morris. And then we do have Trey McKitty and Zach Davidson as players probably for the practice squad. For the offensive line, we are going to keep 10 of those. Our projected starting offensive line is Dion Dawkins, David Edwards, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, and Spencer Brown. We're going to roster as reserves Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandemark. Don't forget we signed Brian Allen and Kendall Lamb, who I think are terrific depth players. And we have our 3rd-round draft pick, Dominic Puny. So I like how that depth was able to come together with the additions of Lamb and Allen, the drafting of Puny. And then we still have the young developing players, Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandemark. And I think that protects us really well. If we have an injury at tackle, we got a plan. And if we have an injury or the plan of McGovern to center, Edwards to left guard doesn't go the way we like, we'll love having Brian Allen in the mix as a hedge against that. So that's we also have Richard Garage, Kevin Jarvis, Tommy Doyle. Those are probably, outside looking in players. At defensive end, we have 6 spots available. Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Carl Lawson, Brennan Jackson, our 4th-round pick. And then Kingsley Jonathan. I'll say this about Kingsley Jonathan is he would be the 53rd player on the roster. So if we want to keep 5 defensive ends, we can do that, bump off Kingsley Jonathan, and that'll allow us to keep another player at another position. And then, of course, Cameron Klein's in the mix, but not likely to make the team. Defensive tackle, we have 5 spots. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Shelby Harris, Greg Gaines, Braden Fisk, our 2nd-round pick. Again, we brought back Daquan Jones, a couple of veterans that we added in free agency, and Shelby Harris and Greg Gaines. At linebacker, Terrel Bernard, Matt Milano. Can't wait to watch those guys for a full season. That'll be fun. Dorian Williams, Balin Spector, Delshon Phillips, we signed in free agency. Those will be your 5 guys that make the roster, and then the rest of it will be UDFA's veteran minimum type players. At corner, Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, Kyer Elam, Dane Jackson, Taron Johnson, and then our day 3 draft pick, MJ Devonshire, who provides depth behind Taron Johnson and special teams ability. We have 4 safeties that'll make the team: Taylor Rapp, Alohi Gilman, Ashton Davis, Cam Lewis, and that puts DeMar Hamlin, Tyler Owens, Kendall Williamson on the outside looking in. But again, I had some flexibility. If you don't want Kingsley Jonathan to make the team, you want to keep 5 defensive ends, keep a 5th safety, keep a 6th receiver, right? We have options here for how this will all unfold. Then specialists, Reed Ferguson, Tyler Bass, and Sam Martin. Again, after all of this, I project the Bills to have $5 million in cap space to operate with during the season. And I guess I'm impressed with what I was able to do, because when I look at this roster, I think we're better at quarterback because I think Trubisky's a better backup than Kyle Allen. I think we're better at running back with the addition of Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's better than Latavius Murray or Damian Harris. Our receiver core is absolutely better, bringing in Devin Duvernay, Noah Brown, Ladd McConkey. Tight end's the same. Offensive line is it's at least as good as last year. At least as good, and maybe the depth is even better. Our edge group is interesting. Like, we lose Leonard Floyd, we bring back Epinesa, but like Carl Lawson's a nice addition. Brennan Jackson's a nice addition. It might be a push there. I definitely think defensive tackle is better than last year. Linebacker is going to be better just because Matt Milano's back. I didn't have to really do anything there. I think Delshon Phillips is a better player than Tyler Medikevich. You do lose Tyrell Dotson, so it's maybe a push there. At corner, it's pretty much running it back. At safety, you don't have Poyer and Hyde, but you reset there with some very intriguing young players with Alohi Gilman, Ashton Davis, Tyler Owens is a draft pick. Of course, we know Taylor Rapp is back. So I'm comfortable with this. Let's go to war with this for sure. I think this is a roster that can compete for a Super Bowl. Now, one thing that's true is that Brandon Beane has actually done this. He's created rosters each of the last 4 seasons that is capable of competing for a Super Bowl. So this is my mock off season. I hope you enjoyed it. It's fun. It's the idea here is to show you what could happen. Brandon Beane's got his own plan. We'll see what that is here in the coming weeks. Hope you enjoyed this. This will carry you through the weekend, and next week is going to be wild. Free agency starts. There's going to be plenty of new additions to the Buffalo Bills. We're going to break it all down for you every step of the way here on this podcast. So make sure you're subscribed. Join the Locked On Bills subtext community and really further your coverage here of Locked On Bills. Would love for you to be part of that. Again, a link in today's show notes to join. I already said it. Make sure you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great weekend. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again on Monday.